I'm trying to tell you, like, you would have so many different, like, revelations and things to say. We need to do a petition to get Samura outside. That's what I think at this point.
If you want to put together a compensation package, okay, the passport is on deck.
Yes.
Okay. Because don't let me outside and it just be on the corner on Brooklyn.
I don't need you. That's
no,
you're not going to see
outside.
A revelation of God.
Like,
there.
come on,
you
now.
may see Him protecting you from danger seen and unseen.
Take me to the Bahamas, okay?
Yes.
Put me on a yacht,
yes.
Okay, and be like, Samura, connect with God. Amen. I'm there for that. Mm-hmm. All right, come on, connection. You can do it. I believe in you.
Yes.
Whoever the you is, God is talking to you
right
Come on
now.
in here.
So what's
so I snorted.
The seed today is outside. It's an outside seed.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Shattered Hole podcast. I am so grateful that you are here, that you decided to click and to join, okay? Here at the Shattered Hole podcast, we are here to talk, feel, and heal together by doing what? Acknowledging our hurt, claiming our healing, and living as a new creation.
Shando.
Hello. And we're so excited to do so. Listen, I don't play with your time. You know how I feel about that. You know how I feel about the fact that you took the time to listen, which means we have to make sure that it's worth the listen. And I could not do that this episode without my girl, without my lady, Miss Emicia Parker. Come on. Yes. Listen, the love I have for this woman here. Okay, listen, she literally is in my phone as Love Bug. Okay, like I love this one. Here, I wanted to bring her on, and as you can see, we have some amazing art that is behind me.
Let me tell y'all about prophecy though, because sis didn't even know what art I was gonna bring, and look at her outfit. Coordinate perfectly.
Listen, I like
coordinate. Look at John Witherspoon. It's that John Witherspoon anointed. Coordinate.
But I wanted to be able to talk about the heart of the art, or art of the heart. Both. Because there is something amazing that happens when we can use the art, that gift that God has given us, as a tool, an expression, as emotion, as so many different depths of different things that it can be, to really be a part of our healing, our heart process.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, but before we get into all of that, first, Emicia, will you tell the people who's Emicia Parker?
I'm still figuring that out. But I guess on paper, Emicia Parker is a classically trained fine artist, community leader, educator, and just writer, creative, multi-hyphenate, who is based in Brooklyn, New York, yet is from Jamaica. Jamaica, big up yourself every time, a little bit, but with Tanawa. And that is the briefest intro I could give.
I got you. I will not mess around with the fake accent, though I do it privately. I'm not gonna lie to you and tell you that I don't. Cause
it's really your birthright.
I'm surrounded
by Jamaican,
by the Caribbean community. Let me in, folks. Nah.
No, we need somebody who can make the mac and cheese differently, because as much as I love my Caribbean people, macaroni pie is just not, it's not what the Lord hath made.
I got you.
That macaroni and cheese, like, that's what the Lord hath made. And I can do
it either way, okay? I was like, if you want the real cheese, or if you're vegan, whatever you need.
That's true, because the first year that I met sis, she bought me a vegan mac and cheese, and it was on point. It was on point. I thought it was going to taste like styrofoam, because every time vegan people tell you they got a substitute, not quite. Nah, but it was hitting. It tastes better than many people's regular macaroni and cheese. And that's saying something, because I'm black. Like black. I don't just play one on the internet.
Black. All that.
Yes.
All that.
Exactly.
All that. And so I'm like, I'll do that for you.
Thank you, Fred.
I was like, I don't want to hold people hostage, because I know they got questions, right? So we have a couple of pieces behind me, but we're gonna start with this one. Can you tell us about the journey? Who is she, and what's her journey?
Sure. So I guess starting out, I just wanted to piggyback on something that you said earlier about like art, and how like art was really created to help us heal. I was a philosophy minor in undergrad, and when you study like the father of philosophy, Socrates, the writings that we have of his are basically Plato's Apology and things that Plato wrote. And he didn't actually believe that art was something to be respected, because he didn't feel like the world that we lived in was like the real world. He felt like the forms were the real world. And so the world that we lived in was like an imitation of like the real world. And Plato, who was his mentee, believed the same thing. But then you have Aristotle, and Aristotle's poetics basically offer a different perspective, where it's not, because for them, if the world that we live in is an imitation of reality, and then art is an imitation of the world that we live in, then it's like twice removed from anything real.
Yeah.
But Aristotle was able to say that what art does that's very important is catharsis. In those times, like the Greeks, when they would go to the theater, they were very effusive. If they saw someone on stage dying, they would cry very effusively. If something funny happened, they would laugh very effusively. And it gave them this outlet in society to be able to fully express their emotions. And that's what made art important to Aristotle. And I would agree. I think that that's what makes art important, is because, you know, we're not really often able to express what we feel in a way that is societally sanctioned. You know what I mean? People will absolutely come for you if you express your emotions in the wrong way. But art gives you the ability to do
so. It's not questioned in the same way, because it's, this is just art. And because it is this perceived separation, when it really is the depth.
It really is.
It really is the depth. And because there's not the same amount of judgment there. You have people who have criticisms of the art, but it's not the same, because I have already expressed it.
Literally.
So your criticism is an after effect that doesn't matter, because I finally allowed it to get out of me and be expressed authentically.
That part. And we do that in the arts, because I feel like even like Mary J. Blige, like everyone wants Mary J. Blige to have a breakup so she can make that album that they want to listen to. You know what I mean? But it's like, if she were to just do interviews bashing Kendu, it would be like, well, she bitter. But when she put it on wax, now you dancing. Now you don't want hateration at the dancery either. You know what I mean? So it's like, art gives you that ability to then express. So.
There's freedom there.
Yes.
There is a freedom there, and there is a level of connection that is not allowed in any real other medium of expression, right? That's why like they go, oh, music doesn't need permission. You know, if you just hear a beat, it has permission to have your feet tapping or to move you to tears because it was able to go into the back of your subconscious and tap onto a memory that you didn't even know you had.
That part.
And pull this thing out of you, and now you're like, oh my God, I don't know why I love this song, but I do. And it's not even the song that you love what the music is able to do through you. It is poetic, it is art, it is art in many dimensions. So as you were creating, because you created multiple series, which I'm so blessed to see and view, and to know some of the stories of them. Like, I can't just look at the picture and see the picture. I can't just look at the picture, and I don't think anybody should. Because on the surface, it's just beautiful.
Thank you.
But when you get to the depths of the story, it comes to life.
Thank you.
So, would you tell us about the life?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So this painting, Sheba, I actually hadn't painted in like, I think it was 15 years. It was when my mom was dying, because there was like the world was desaturated. Like there was no color in the world. There was no reason to create art. And like you said, it has to come. It's almost like a fountain that comes from a well inside of you. And if that well is dry, you just can't produce. So I didn't paint for like 15 years. And so during the pandemic, here I am pandemicking with everyone else, trying to figure out when I'm going to be able to buy more toilet paper. Because it's literally all out at the supermarket.
All right.
Eating a lot of snacks that I had no business eating.
Come on, snack.
Yeah, because it was a prerequisite that it would have high fructose corn syrup. Like if it didn't have high fructose corn syrup, I didn't want to eat it during the pandemic. You know what I'm saying?
So like,
it just wasn't appropriate. It wasn't appropriate. Get out of here, asparagus. So I was just doing those things, and then like out of nowhere, I just got the passion to start painting again, and I really feel like it was a result of my own healing process. I think that I had healed. I always use the term trauma lasagna, but sometimes there's so many layers of trauma that you're working through that you get to one layer and you work through that, and now you access a part of yourself that had gone missing for so long. Like there are like trauma can bury the best parts of you. And so I had healed to a place where I was able to access the artist again, and I just wanted to paint something. And initially I was going to paint like a self-portrait, and I was like, I want some animals in it. I really love Frida Kahlo, a lot of her self-portraits with animals, and so I was like, I want to just put some animals in it. But then once I started like creating her, I was like, I actually want her to be really dark. That was like the first design decision that I made in terms of color. Like I want her to be an unambiguously, richly chocolate Black woman. And so, that was the first thing. And then I started drawing these birds. And I wasn't really sure what kind of birds they were going to be. I had never painted a bird before. Never painted a bird before.
Can't tell, sis.
Thank you, friend.
I
was just here freestyling and swashbuckling. I did not know how those birds were gonna come out, y'all. but God, Shando. So, don't start me up. So I started making the birds, and I was just like, I knew that I wanted her like outfit and everything to be purple. So I just started finding birds that I felt would like coordinate with how I wanted the purples in her outfit to be. And I chose first the lilac breasted roller right here. And I had no idea what the symbolism of any of these birds were at the time, y'all. I really just feel like God just was guiding me to certain things, because he loves doing that. It's like the dots connect at the end, But like in the meantime, it's just about the trust. And those dots do not look like they're about to connect. Them dots look real dotty and spotty. And you don't want them dots. But, you know, I saw the lilac-breasted roller. I was like, this has to be there. Then I saw the green parakeet. I was like, that has to be there. And then the bluebird. And I was like, that has to be there. So I just created them. And then I ended up like looking up like the symbolism of the birds. And so I found that in Kenya, the lilac-breasted roller is actually the national bird of Kenya. And it's known to be a bird that works really, really hard for its prey. Like when it's time for it to find food, like it goes on really like, you know, high pedestals to look down. It has a very unusual habit of finding food. And so they're known to be hard workers. And that is the symbolism of the lilac-breasted roller. Then I looked up the green parakeet, and across cultures, that tends to be a bird that symbolizes patience. And then the bluebird across cultures is typically emblematic of like good things on the horizon or like good things to come. Yeah. So I put the birds there. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Like, cool story, bro. But the dots still weren't connecting. Yeah. Until I finished her. And then I'm like, what do I name her? And I wasn't sure. And then the name Sheba just kept coming to me. It was just like Sheba. And I'm like, am I just calling her Sheba because she's a dark-skinned black woman? Right. Like, you know, and it was just like, no matter what name I chose, Sheba just kept coming back. And then I looked up Sheba, and Sheba actually means daughter of a promise. And at that time, when I actually painted this, like I was really impatient because there was something that I was believing God for that still hadn't manifested. And I feel like the reminder to me that God sent this as a reminder to me that yes, you are the daughter of a promise. If God has given you a promise and you are his child, then you are the daughter of a promise. Correct. So what is your job now until the promise manifests? Work hard, be patient, and know that that good thing is coming. So I feel like God sent that as a reminder to me, and then as a reminder, you know, to all of his daughters and to all of his children that if he says it's going to happen, it's going to happen. But you have a job to do in the meantime.
So many things. Because listen, if you're used to me by now,
choreography for me.
It is so, listen, so many things. That it is, I got to go back to the dots were looking real dotty. And it wasn't connecting. In process, gathering all the individual components, not understanding the full picture or even having a vision for what the end looks like.
And you hit the nail on the head because you don't know the full picture. I drew this. I didn't know the full picture. I just knew she's gonna have eyes. She's gonna have eyes right here, and she's gonna have a nose in between her eyes. I didn't know the full picture.
And I'm like, that is existence. I'm like, if you can see every single aspect of what it is that you're doing and where you're going and how you're moving, and that there's no surprises or nuances, it's because your picture is extremely small.
Literally that part.
And it's probably it's you created, not God created.
That's so real.
The tribulation in the requirement of trust, in the requirement of hard work, in the requirement of patience, in the requirement of belief of a good thing, and the balance that all requires is only necessary when there's something so big and so out of your natural ability or reach. It requires you to be in this posture.
Absolutely.
So listening and being able to put it in the art before you're able to implement it into your reality what did just looking at the art of it after, like, what was your conversation with yourself? We can see a conversation with God, but what was your conversation with yourself like after you put all the dots together, and now what you need to operate in is looking at you?
Wow, that's a heavy question. You see why I love her? There's nobody else in your life that's going to ask you that question, friends. I just want you to know, like, you know, Poppy, who makes your sandwiches at the bodega, is not going to ask you. Your parents aren't going to ask you. Your spouse isn't going to ask you. No one's going to ask you these questions except Samura. So thank you, Samura, for that.
You're welcome.
To answer the question, I felt a conviction. Like, God sunned me. You know, I always say, whom the Son sons is sunned indeed. Because God definitely sons us. And it was a conviction where I was reminded that God is a designer.
Ooh.
Because it's like somebody will look at this and say, oh, you know, she's a great artist because, you know, she drew birds. And it's like, I drew birds that already exist. Like, so I traced the blueprint that was already here. But you can give me props for being a good artist or a good designer by drawing something that I didn't even conceptualize. So imagine the magnitude of design brilliance that it takes to put a bird, the first parakeet, together. And not only aesthetically, the beauty of it, the colors of it, like the juxtaposition of, you know, where the feathers are and the beak and all of that, but the internal functioning.
Yeah.
The fact that it has different systems, you know what I mean? It had cells.
Yeah.
Like, so it was a reminder that I have a fraction of what God has, a minuscule fraction of what God has in terms of design.
Yeah.
And if I can appreciate his design for a bird, right? And I can appreciate his design for the leaves, the monstera plant, why am I still having difficulty appreciating his design for my life? So definitely felt very convicted. Still feel convicted.
Yeah. Just in you saying that, I connect with that in so many different ways because and we talk about this, like I really do like love God for real.
No, you like, love him for real. I just need y'all to know, okay? Because one of my pet peeves is these people who throw their hands in the air and say, I love God more than everything, but you still have everything. You know what I mean? So that's a hypothesis, really. So when you lose everything and you still love him, then yeah, you love him more than everything. And there's very few people who have lost enough to be able to say that and they're not hypothesizing. This woman is one of those women. So she loves him for real.
Girl, I don't, hey, that part. But no, I really, I do love him. And I believe him. And when you hear that, I'm like, if you're not deep enough in a relationship where you've gone through anything, like an expectation of God, you stop short at, oh, that's so amazing that she really trusts and she really believes God. I'm talking about that I really believe him, so that's why we argue.
Yes.
Not to say that he argues back with me.
Right.
I be arguing with myself, but I be, like putting myself into, because my arms ain't big enough, ain't long enough to box with guard. You remember I'm dating myself, but you know what I mean. And I was like, because I believe you, I then allow my imagination to write an expectancy of the time frame of when I expect him to do something because I believe the promise. Yes. The problem is I didn't let the promise be the promise, that I added on time frames, that I added on contingencies, I added on the person that it would come to, I added on all these things, and then I turned back to him and was like, you broke my heart.
Yeah, literally that part.
And he's like, but I didn't add any of that stuff. I told you that I would heal you. I didn't tell you when I would heal you. I didn't tell you how I would heal you. I didn't tell you any of those things, but I did promise healing. And my healing process is better than yours because it will be instrumental in the way that you then build your muscle so that when you're on this other side of after and healing, you'll be able to sustain the life of what healed requires. But I don't want to hear that because this dot is dotting.
Right. Just get me out of here.
This dot is dotting. And so I'm like, you have like the convictions and you're like, I'm still in that place and I'm still learning, but you didn't stop there. You kept going. Mm-hmm. Like the first picture wasn't enough to stop you and be like, I don't like that after this, that you having this conversation with me with the thing that I created with my own hand. And it doesn't matter that you created me with your hand. We're not talking about that right now. So what drove you, inspired, encouraged you to keep going?
Wow. That's big. So the first thing I would say is, to your point, like, you are so right about, like, like just wanting the dot to stop dotting and not even thinking about the design that it's creating. And it's so ironic because I look at you as a fellow Job, like I know very few Jobs. No shade. Actually, all applicable shade. Most Christians don't really have to go through deep Job experiences. They're kind of sheltered. God doesn't allow things to get too crazy for most people. But you're a Job. And ironically, when Job was crying out and God answered him by talking about design.
He sure
did. Do you feed the young lions, Job? Do you know where the storehouse for the snow is? Like, that was God's clapback, was, I am a designer. And if you can trust that I'm doing all of these things in nature, then you can trust that I'm doing something beautiful with your life as well. And Job's response was just like, surely I spoke what I didn't understand. Because there's something in design. And so I just, even in drawing this, like, I was just kind of blown away by the fact that, like, each of us and our gifts, talents, skills, and abilities, we carry an aspect of who God is.
Yeah.
That allows us to understand him better.
Yeah.
Like I read in Zephaniah where it says he rejoices over us with singing. And I feel like I don't even feel that to the full capacity that a musician would. Because I see when my friends who are singers, when they have babies and they sing over their children.
Oh, my God.
And just the joy in their faces and the joy in their hearts.
Yeah.
And so it's just a reminder that, like, each of us has this unique little aspect of who God is.
Yeah.
That allows us to connect with him differently. And so it challenged me with the design thing. So to answer your question about what made me keep going, honestly, I think when you're wired to be an artist, creating art is like compulsory. You know what I mean? It's like trying to stop yourself from having to use the bathroom. You know what I mean? There has to be a blockage. Something has to be wrong for you to not use the bathroom. You know what I mean? So it's similar, I think, with art in terms of, like, I just create art now that part of me is exposed again, because I feel like I have to. So the next painting was another picture in this series, Naomi. That was the one with the woman with the locks, and she has the caterpillar, the butterfly, the praying mantis.
That one.
I felt honestly like each painting, like, it wasn't supposed to be a standalone painting, that there was supposed to be a series. Like, this is a sentence in the healing series, but the paragraph is all four of those pieces. So it's like, this first sentence was just like when you first know that you're supposed to start healing, and the reminder that there is a promise, because that's what keeps you going. You know what I mean? Because you do not heal if you don't feel like there's a better you on the other side of that.
Truth.
Like,
truth.
If you feel like you're going to be worse on the other side of it, you don't even start. You don't even start. So you have to start with the promise. And then the second part is the woman, Naomi, like, she has, I don't have it with me, but she has a butterfly, she has a caterpillar and a praying mantis on her shoulders. And it was about just the metamorphosis because that's what, a butterfly really represents in nature, is this animal that starts out completely different. You know what I mean? And then becomes something completely different. And, I felt like I was in my caterpillar phase.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you're cool the way you are, because caterpillars are beautiful to me. I think they're so dope. I have a memory being little kitty Emicia of like being on a school trip and we're laying out in the grass and I just see this caterpillar and I'm just letting it crawl on me and everyone's like, ew. And I'm like, it's so pretty, and people are like looking at me and I'm like, y'all all got ringworms. I didn't get a ringworm, so clearly I'm doing something right. But as a caterpillar, it's beautiful as it is, but it also is aware that there's a different nature inside of it. Like, that you have the potential to be something more. Yeah. You have the potential to fly. Yeah. Imagine being stuck on the ground and you have the potential to fly. So when it comes to nature, caterpillars go into a cocoon and then they become a butterfly. But we don't have that luxury as human beings, Right. So the praying mantis represents like prayer, devotion, dedication, like just that commitment to the things that are necessary for us to become a butterfly. And I felt like that was the second sentence in the healing process, because this is about the promise, but there's also the process that comes with the promise. We all want the promise. We don't want the process. Right. But the second piece is about the process. Yeah. And the third piece in the healing series that I'm working on now, it's like a woman underwater. So there's going to be like fish and like an octopus. It's so pretty already. I'll be showing you guys more of that within the next couple weeks as I'm doing it. You'll be able to see me like get it done. Yeah. But yeah, that's just the part in the healing process where you feel like you're drowning. Where you feel like you are drowning. Where you're just like, man, I cannot do this. Yeah. So what keeps me going, to answer your question, is that there's just more to say. There's more to say. It's incomplete, like just with one sentence. There's more to say. Yeah.
First of all, there was so much in that, and my brain is exploding. I just.
That says more about your brain than it does about my statement.
It's just like, because your mind is so gorgeous.
So is your mind.
I'm like, it's so
I wish I could be Miss Frizzle on the Magic School Bus. I would jump into Samura's brain.
I'm like, you sure?
I'm mildly afraid of what I would find. Because I feel like it would just be deep. Like, I just feel like we would just be rolling down mad hills.
I can feel that.
Yeah, but it would still be beautiful, though. Yeah. It'd be like glittery hills.
Right. Truth. And a lot of randomness. Mm-hmm. Right? Because it just is. I'm like, you got to balance it out. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You'll be you'll be going 1 minute and you'll be like, yeah, like God is amazing and wonderful. And then you'll go into this thought and you'll be like, oh, this is like, look at this like theological question. And then you'll see somebody twerking in the corner. It'll just be
catfish coming.
You know what I mean? Peanut butter jelly top. Why is that there? Why is that there? I mean, no one
there's a parakeet.
And there's a parakeet.
Yeah.
Talking about, don't worry about it. Be patient. But I'm like, this is who I am, guys.
Yes.
You got to know who you are.
And we love who you are.
I appreciate you. But I love your mind is beautiful, because it can weave in and out of different spaces where it accumulates all of this like information. And I love you're a researcher, so you're going to go into the depths and the dives of the why and where it came from and the historical context of it, and I'm like, take me there. I'm like, teach me your ways. But then being able to go, I know all this information, because this is the part I want to hit. I know all of this information, yet it doesn't remove
the pain. Yeah. It doesn't remove the pain.
It doesn't remove the pain. It does let me know that the pain is not just to be pain.
Yes. There's a purpose in the pain.
There's a purpose in the, there's look, you already put purpose, you put promise, you put process, and now you're going into
Purpose.
that there's purpose. And I'm like, that purpose part, to get to it, does require a submerging. And you're like,
I wish it didn't.
Girl, I wish it did not.
You have to surrender. And that's what that submergence is.
And let me say the duality of that. I wish it wasn't because of the feeling that I feel in the time that it's happening. But honestly, I have never gone through what I've gone through in the depths of the hardest of situations. Gotten through it, over it, and looked back, recognized all of the things that it has empowered me to be able to not just endure, but to thrive and live fully in. Like, and it's, if you can hold on long enough to, one, give your perspective to God and allow him to show you something different so that you can survive in the hard place.
Yes.
And then two, give yourself the benefit of after. Because why even pay attention to a promise?
Did y'all hear the benefit of, I want to get that tatted on my forehead. The benefit of after.
The benefit of after.
That's a book.
Yeah,
that's a book. Samura?
Oh, here we go.
I'm not doing this with you. The benefit of after. My God on today. Mighty God of Daniel.
Heard. Heard. I ain't gonna fight you now. We're on camera.
You're gonna fight me later. That's what that means.
I'm like, people are watching. I'm like, Heard. I'm like, with that benefit of the after is such a necessity, and the beauty that I see in your paintings is a conversation when I'm deaf.
Yeah.
When hearing you in my ear doesn't work, so I can hear you through, like, the depths of the way that you can speak to me. Like, you created, look, the ultimate designer, you created this world. So there is communication and language in any facet.
And y'all, before we had like a finished Bible, the first revelation of God is through creation. Like, Romans talks about that exhaustively, how people are able to see not only that there is a God, but characteristics of the nature of God from the way that, you know, we see nature. And we're so disconnected from that, I think, in our generation, because we live in buildings, we buy our food from supermarkets. Yeah, we don't have to interact, you know, with nature at all, right? Like, we're
someone else
sheltered.
is paid to do that.
Exactly. Yeah, and because of that, I don't think we see those things in real time.
Yeah, girl, you done messed me up, because I don't like outside. I'm like, but now I'm like, am I missing an experience with you, Lord?
Yeah.
Because I just won't allow outside. Inside. Ooh. Are you trying to?
Now you trying to have church. You need to have bug spray. You need to have proper clothing. You need to have water. You need to have certain supplies. Okay. But being outside is a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And my homie hooked me up with a floss water. What up? Electric. I can take it out.
I'm trying to tell you, God is, that's a dot. You need to connect that dot and get outside, sis. Because this time last year, I was actually in North Carolina visiting some friends for the holidays. Because everybody know the holidays are trash for me. So my friends invited me to North Carolina, and I'm out there, and I'm in their backyard, and I'm just watching birds, like, just build nests. And I'm like, you guys are able to build something that nurtures the next generation of you from found objects. It's like a twig here, a leaf here, you know, a little piece of straw, and you build this thing that keeps you safe from found objects. You see, if you were out in nature, I'm trying to tell you, like you would have so many different like revelations and things to say. We need to do a petition to get Samura outside. That's what I think at this point.
If you want to put together a compensation package, okay, the passport is on deck.
Yes.
Okay. Because don't let me outside and it just be on the corner on Brooklyn.
I don't need you. That's
No.
You're not going to see
outside.
a revelation of God.
Like,
there.
come on,
you
now.
may see Him protecting you from danger seen and unseen.
Take me to the Bahamas, okay?
Yes.
Put me on a yacht,
yes.
okay, and be like, Samura, connect with God. Amen. I'm there for that. Mm-hmm. All right, come on, connection. You can do it. I believe in you.
Yes.
Whoever the you is, God is talking to you
right
come on
now.
in here.
So what's
so I snorted.
The seed today is outside. It's an outside seed.
But I'm like, look, just like listening to that, and I'm just like, man, we allow so much noise in.
Yes.
And God is like, I'm not intimidated by your noise. I can communicate with you anyway, but you do have to invite me in to have the conversation.
That part. Because the Holy Spirit's a gentleman.
And I love that, because here's the thing. This world would violate you and think nothing of it and then tell you to apologize to it for violating you. But you can say what you want about God, but He has a respect for you, not that you deserve respect, but He gives you respect because He has commanded Himself to do so. So if God, who has to bow down to no one, has put Himself in a space where He has to ask you and allow you permission, invitation, it is already a communication to you that you're valued more than even the nature, because it bows to Him, and there's no communication with nature that tells Him a consideration. He has a conversation with you because He made you in His image.
Yes.
And that piece of him that's talking back to Him, He has a respect and honor for it, and a love for it in you, so much so that He loaned you His breath that's still breathing all this millennia later. Because I always desired you. I didn't need you, I wanted you.
Yes.
When Arthur Pink is a theologian from like 17, I'm like hundreds or so.
Y'all should see her book. She got a lot of books of theologian. So she's saying that she not freestyling. Like, she actually read about this man. She about to teach us something.
Yeah, like he has a book of attributes of God and the sovereignty of God. First of all, I dare you to get through the first chapter without really just checking yourself. But one of the things is that word long for me. Who am I, God, that you would long for me? Knowing all the things that I would do before I was formed in my mother's womb, and all the things that I would think of you before I was formed in my mother's womb, when I would be blinded and I couldn't see your good. I could only see the experience of the hard that I was in. Who am I, God, that you would long for me? And that's why I tell you how important you are. How needed and necessary and valued you are, because you have a God of the absolute universe who longed for Emicia.
That's insane. I don't feel longed for.
And I know that. And I know that.
I mean, not by God. I feel longed for by like the guys in my DMs. You know what I'm saying? But like,
stay out of there.
I don't. I really don't go in there.
I'm talking to them.
Jumanji in there.
I'm talking to them.
Okay.
I'm from Brooklyn. No,
she really put her hands on you.
My producers.
Everybody
was hard.
here was like nodding, y'all. Everybody here was nodding. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a consensus that she will in fact put her hands on you. So that part.
Oh, I know people. Everybody can say
Goons for Christ. Okay. Is that the ministry? GFC?
It's not bad. It sounds catchy. I was like, but knowing that, and here's the great thing. You don't have to feel it for it to be true. Mm-hmm. And, but there is a space that does require for you to know it, though.
Yeah. I think knowing it is transformative.
Yeah.
I think when you know that, that just changes everything in your life.
Yeah.
Your whole perspective.
Yeah, because knowing survives when feelings don't.
Bars, y'all. That's bars.
Yeah. Listen, we gonna talk forever. You know how we do. You know how we do.
This is how we really talk to each other, y'all.
Yeah, we be
like
on the phone for 5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And
just
I'm
talking
okay with
like
that.
this. Yeah.
That's why I'm like, no. Hold on. What day? Because I need the day. I need the day. But I value the transparency of the journey that you're on.
Thank you.
I value it more that you're still on it. Because it is... There have been times where I've opened up my timeline and I can't tell you how many people just was like, I cannot. And some have not said anything and some have said, but I just can't. I never got to know. I only stayed in feel. And that's why I try to teach people to separate the feelings from the facts and lean harder on the facts, even when your feelings can't line up with it.
Yeah, that's hard.
That's hard.
And it goes back to something you were saying earlier about like, even if you can intellectually assent to something, it doesn't take the pain away.
It doesn't.
And I think that like one of the things that is very hard for me to reconcile, but is real, is that sometimes the pain doesn't go away because it's not supposed to.
Yeah.
Like this week I had like a horrible toothache. Like my tooth just started hurting out of nowhere. I'm not going to say out of nowhere. 2 years ago, my dentist told me you should get this tooth removed. And I told him to mind his business because I'm grown. And I didn't have time that week. And I wasn't going to make time. So my tooth was fine until it wasn't, right? And it started hurting really bad last week. And it didn't matter anything else that I thought I had planned on my dossier to do. Like everything on my dossier was like, we're not happening because we're in pain.
We're
right
in pain.
now, you know? And I think that the job of pain is often to cause you to pay attention to something.
Yeah.
Pain brings all of your energy, all of your attention, all of your focus to a specific thing.
Yeah.
I didn't care that like my pinky nail toe polish was chipping. All I could think about was that tooth.
Correct.
All of my attention was at that tooth.
Yeah.
And when you think about like the civil rights, movement, pain. Would there have been a civil rights movement without
If there
pain?
was no pain.
Would there be mothers against drunk driving if there wasn't pain?
Correct.
Would there be a St. Luke's, children's hospital for children with cancer if there was no pain?
Correct.
So I feel like very often when you're trying to trace the purpose of your life, pay attention to the pain.
Yeah. There is her name is Dr. Shalette Stewart.
She got mad books, y'all. Listen to her.
She actually just did a seminar for the organization that I work with. She was one of the faculty members, and she talked about the biblical strategic approach for your organization. And one of the things that she said, what is an important thing that you have to look for in order to grow your organization. And everyone was like, oh, you gotta take like inventory, you gotta do this and you gotta do this. And with the imagery that she had put up was literally the word and it on fire, and it was pain.
Wow.
She was like, you gotta know your pain points in order to grow, in order to fix, in order to deal, in order to know what's going wrong, what's going right. It is where you draw your attention, not to stay there, but to grow there.
Yeah, literally that part. Because your pain is ordained.
Exactly. And
we have different pains for a reason.
Right.
Each of us is supposed to do something different.
And here's the thing. I was like, this Shattered Whole podcast is not for me to tell you how you're not going to have pain anymore. It's to give you a toolbox to deal with the pain that's coming.
Yeah, she's good at that.
The pain that's there and the pain that's coming, because it's not supposed to overtake you. Mm-hmm. It is only supposed to build you, draw you closer. Mm-hmm. It is also itself a tool. It's not supposed to be your existence. And I was like, so, but I think we get caught there because of how hot the fire is.
Yes. I mean, when your tooth is on fire, your tooth is on fire.
Correct. It's hard to think of and feel anything else. When you're in pain, it's so
intense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But here's what I know. What I have had the opportunity to be a part of in my lasagna of trauma.
Yes.
Is that there is also a much, much more sustenant meal, entree, dessert, the house that the meal is in, called victory. So that the lasagna can be small, but the house, the mansion, the land is vast. And then when you compare those two together, though you can smell the lasagna all over the house. If you eat it at the wrong time, it can cause uncomfortable situations. It has so much power to do something.
Yes.
In its good state and in its rotting state.
Both.
Yet, it does not compare to the house it's in. And that's you. It's a part. It's a part, but it's not comparable to the you that it's in. So
it's not comparable to the you that it's in.
It's not comparable. You have got to tell people how they can connect with you. How they can get the series. And really watch the reminder on the walls of their home when they forget that there's a promise, that there is a purpose, that there is these depths of levels because you have more than one series. So there's depths of levels to get to that I can see it in the art.
Thank you. So I bought one from each series today. We have Sheba from the Healing series. And after the Healing series, after I finished that series, well, I'm still working on that series. The next series that I started working on was Literary Empresses. And this is Zora from the Literary Empress series. And that series I was just in a place where, because I lost my mom, like, I don't really have older women to give me advice about things anymore. And I just started thinking about all of these women that, through reading their work, like Maya Angelou was the first one, Gwendolyn Brooks, then Zora, then Toni Morrison, that have given me wisdom, even though I've never physically met them. And so it was about like, well, if they were here, what would they tell me? And, Zora here says, no, I do not weep at the world. I'm too busy sharpening my oyster knife. And even earlier when you were talking about how like this world will violate you and then like blame you for being upset. I think about when she said that if you're not vocal, they will kill you and say you enjoyed it. But like, Zora, I love me some Zora. So that was the second series. Then the third series was actually Walking in Wisdom, because it was like once I got to a point where I started just attaining the wisdom, I knew that the next step was application. Like, it's one thing to store up a bunch of wisdom. I mean, that's cool, kind of, but it's only when you're able to really walk it out that you're able to activate it and allow it to be of use not only to yourself but to those around you. For sure. So that's what that series was. And then the last series that I worked on for this season, because this is the fall collection, I'm working on the spring collection now, was actually Picnic Vibes. And this piece was Caribbean picnic. So that's why you see all of these beautiful flags here. But yeah, it was about the necessity of community while you're healing. Because the other paintings that I did, they were all just of a woman by herself or a woman with animals, right? But there's a huge aspect of healing that involves being surrounded by the right people.
Yeah.
And so this was about that. And as you mentioned, like the historical part, because every woman in the center of the Picnic Vibe series is wearing like a locket. And this locket right here has a different revolutionary woman from that culture. This is the second piece in that series. The first piece was the Afro-Latina picnic. And so the woman in the center is actually wearing a locket of Carlotta, who was an Afro-Cuban woman who's like a Harriet Tubman, who led like a revolt there. The Caribbean one is wearing Nanny of the Maroons. I mean, Jamaica, like she's one of our national heroes, but she also like, you know, led a series, actually led a war. She was a female general of the Maroons, enslaved ancestors, who actually led a successful war against the British. But, you know, I wanted to include that in the picnic series because I feel like to be a woman of a black woman, a woman of African descent in America, even when you're at leisure because of people who fought so that you could be at peace.
Absolutely.
So, so that was the four from this collection. And again, the themes are just really healing, just, you know, process, promise, community, wisdom, application. And if you want to see more of the pieces, www.empress, EMPRESS by BY, Emicia, EMICIA.com. So see my little Empress. Emicia, Empress by Emicia. So you can go there.
Yeah, we'll put it on the bottom of the screen, so there is no reason, and it'll be in the caption, there's no reason for you not to have it and to jump on board.
Yes, ma'am.
It is absolutely an honor, pleasure, delight, joy to have you on. I am beyond grateful, and we must do it again.
We literally must do it again. Yeah, I'm just so grateful anytime I get to see Samura. Anytime I get to build with her, because she's gonna give you good bricks. You know, people will throw you bricks and you don't need to build with them bricks because they're gonna fall apart. Yeah. She's gonna give you good bricks.
Yeah. Because you won't say I gave it to you. But listen, I am always grateful to have this kind of heart talk with you. It's because there's something that you needed that was in this conversation. And I can promise you need to listen to this one a couple of times, because there will be different segments that talk to you at different times and moments. And I need you to invite your friends into it. Don't be selfish. Don't be selfish.
You know, when a black mother snaps her fingers, like everybody looked up, like what's happening? What did I do wrong?
They did.
Yeah.
But listen, I value you. You are so important. You are so needed. And I just want you to remember that I see you, that I am listening, that I love you. And God bless.